So
All right.
I'll go ahead and because this is something that I've been passionate about that really needs to change. Um, the Toyota released, or not Toyota, Gary Watkins of Motorsport.com made an article about Toyota, who was complaining about the BOP and how the races, following the Sao Paulo race, how they considered it boring. And they are pushing for a revision of this. Now, as we talk about just in the prior subject, BOP is not something that I'm for one in favor of. I understand wanting to make the race fair and even, but I don't even think what they're doing is even fair. I think after the Sao Paulo race, that really kind of exposed that. 30 more pounds on the Le Mans winner, by the way, on Ferrari. Just it almost looks like they're trying to force a win, force a crowd, force an attraction that I just don't think is right because you can't sit there and the former Le Mans winner Ferrari who battled to the end to get that win, and then now comes Sao Paulo, they weigh him all the way down, and they make Cadillac win. And I just don't think that's a effective way to gain attraction and make it fair to the group or to the teams that are all racing out there. You know, because usually when we come into these races, who do we think is going to win? Ferrari,
Well,
Porsche, or Cadillac? We don't ever really count in Alpine. We don't ever count in
Alpine and
uh,
BMW
BMW.
and
You know, and BMW's
yeah,
been making steady progress and they've been looking good, but we still don't count them in yet. We don't count in Aston Martin. We don't count in Peugeot. You know, the only ones we count in is Toyota, Ferrari, Porsche, and Cadillac. And
Toyota's been falling backwards now,
yeah, and
though.
Toyota's not even really doing that good anymore either. So you look at all this and you just ask yourself like, why is it that they make a decision this way? So I'm fully with Toyota. I agree with him. Boring. I ain't said the race is
I
boring, but because again, seeing that Cadillac go almost lap the GTP cars is
It was
definitely
thrilling. Like
right.
I was like, wow, this is great. I sent you a text just to tease you, and I was
Yeah.
like, man, Chris, isn't this a great race? Isn't it? You remember them text messages? You got real
Yeah.
quiet.
And
When I
I
was
see.
sending them text messages, I
Yeah,
was like, where
but,
Chris at? Where
but
you
he
at,
wanted,
Chris?
but he ignored my calls on Le Mans day when I was calling my
Hey,
Ferrari.
hey,
He didn't want to pick up my
and,
calls then. No,
and what was your prediction for this Sao Paulo race? Wasn't
I
it
had
Porsche that
Porsche.
you thought was going?
Yeah,
Okay, and now me, I didn't have a prediction, so I'm not going to talk smack.
yeah,
But
yeah. See, yeah, there we
I was
go.
I'm glad that Cadillac won. We're gonna see whether or not it's a fluke or not in the next round. Honestly, yeah, uh, I agree with Toyota on this 110%. Even long before there was talks about balance of performance. This has been going on since the DPI class. Actually, long before that. It's been going on since the American Le Mans Series merged with uh, the Rolex Grand Am Series, and that's when they were forced to have a balance of performance back then, and they had to have disparity between the performance of the LMP2 cars and LMP2 base cars and the DP cars, which were just Daytona prototypes at that time. And they had to do some balance of performance during that time. And that was understandable because neither series wanted their car to lose. So they said, okay, let's give them both a chance to win. And that was the whole purpose of that. And then there came the DPI class, which was supposed to compete at Le Mans alongside LMP2 cars, but the ACO didn't want the DPI cars to have an unfair advantage in terms of aero and engines. And so they said that, look, if you're going to bring DPI cars to Le Mans, you're going to have to put LMP2 spec bodywork on them. You can have your own customized engine, but you can't have customized bodywork. And so that fell through. DPI cars never did get to compete at Le Mans. So they came up with this convergence for the top categories where both classes could compete with one another on a fair, on equal terms, where they would both have a chance of winning. IMSA always wanted their own top class in the American series, okay, and so that's why they had Daytona prototypes back in the early 2010s and early 2000s. They had Daytona prototypes, and ACO had Le Mans prototypes, LMP1, LMP2. Whereas in the Rolex Grand Am series, they just had DP cars. So you had the Corvette DP, you had the Ford Riley DP. And, fast forward to now, they wanted them to compete. They wanted to be able to compete at Le Mans. And so they came up with this convergence rules where you have LMDH and you have LMH. And so that necessitated a balance of performance because, for one, the LMDH cars are at a disadvantage. Here's why: rear wheel drive only, hybrid system, electric motor is in between the gearbox and the drive shaft, and they're just purely rear wheel drive. And they're based off of four chassis constructors that you can choose from to construct a tub for what was supposed to be an LMP2 car for the next regulations. And so the manufacturers that choose these tubs, they can only choose four of them, and they're supposedly, spec tubs. And you just build your car around that tub. Basically, you build your suspension, your aerodynamics, your body work, your electronics, and your powertrain, your power plant around that. And you don't have as much flexibility as you do in an LMH car. And LMH cars are also all-wheel drive because the electric motor is mounted on the front axle, and so
Yeah.
they're all-wheel drive. And so that's a big advantage, and the fact that they're custom made completely 100%. So that you still have to have some kind of way of balancing the characteristics between the two cars in order for everyone to have, be on equal terms. And so that's supposed to be the point. But what's the whole point of it also is what it's supposed to do is allow more manufacturer participation where cost is not a problem. In the past, it was a continuous seesaw battle. If one manufacturer would have an advantage, the other one would spend more money and get an advantage. And
Yeah.
then when they have an advantage, the competing manufacturer would spend even more money again to gain an advantage again. And then it would just be this continuous seesaw battle back and forth between spending. And it would just become a spending war, and where they just try to outspend one another. And then the smaller manufacturers, they can't go that distance. And so they
Yeah.
just end up getting bullied financially by personnel side, amounts and resources. And they just can't, a smaller company like Mazda wouldn't be able to compete in that kind of rule set where, it's free for all. Like in LMP1H, like under the rules that the Porsche 919 was developed, it was you're allowed to pretty much do what you want, and the BOP at that time was less strict. And so it, since it was less strict, you know when uh Porsche was at a disadvantage to Audi and Toyota, they just spent another $200 million for the next season, and then build a whole new car. And so you just build a whole new car for the next season and
Yeah.
spend $100 million or whatever, and now you're blowing everybody away. Um, and a manufacturer the size of even Honda might not be able to do that. You know, so what do you do for companies that want to compete at Le Mans but want to have a fair chance of winning? Well, you do some kind of a cost cap or development cap where nobody can cry wolf, nobody can cry being bullied, nobody can cry being, that the playing field is unfair to them because this other manufacturer has way bigger pockets, way more resources than us because they're way bigger than us. They're General Motors, they're Goliath, we're freaking, you know, uh, just we're a kid on the
Yeah.
battlefield. We're
Yeah.
bringing a knife to a gunfight. It's not fair, and so that's why this that's part of the reason why. And what that does is increase manufacturer participation because now they have more confidence that they can compete. And so that's bringing more manufacturers in. And so that is why you see so many manufacturers at the top level now. And it worked. So it worked. But the downside to it, the bad side to it, is that it's like, it's almost like the races are being staged.
Yeah.
And what I get the sense of is that manufacturers are trying to use it as a marketing exercise rather than an engineering exercise. And that's kind of what I see happening. And um, it's not like Formula One where it's such a big sport. It's a household name. It's kind of like NASCAR. NASCAR is a household name. Every time I tell somebody that, all right, I'm watching a sports car race, they say, "Oh, you watching NASCAR? Is it a NASCAR Daytona 500?" Like, no, I'm watching sports car racing. I did not say NASCAR. Oh, well, what you think about Dale Earnhardt? I did not say NASCAR drivers. I said sports car drivers. Oh, you watch IndyCar? No, not IndyCar. I said sports car racing. And I keep telling them this over and over again, and they still come back to me the next day and say, "Oh, you gonna go to the NASCAR race they are having next month?" No, I don't even like NASCAR like that. Look, I don't watch NASCAR like that. I said sports car racing. Oh, well, I don't know what you mean by that. Have you
Well,
heard of Le Mans?
that goes
No,
to
I heard of Daytona 500. What about the Indy 500? You like that? No, I'm telling you. I'm trying to tell you. Sports car racing. They do not know what it is. NASCAR is a household name. IndyCar is a household name. Formula One's a household name. Okay? But when I tell somebody about the World Endurance Championship, what's that? Is that NASCAR? Is that IndyCar? No, it's not.
Well, that
I
goes to
said the
show, though.
World Endurance Championship, the IMSA WeatherTech Sports Car Championship. Oh, that's that NASCAR stuff. Yeah. I saw the guys that, they were thinking about going to Daytona to watch the Daytona 500. No, I'm not talking about that. It's not part of that series. Many times I tell the same people this. They go back to NASCAR or Formula One. What you think about Lewis Hamilton? I did not say Lewis Hamilton. So that's the problem. It's not a big enough sport. And what big sports do is going to attract sponsors. Sponsors help pay the bills.
Yeah.
Sponsors help make you big. Okay, the team, the car, the manufacturer.
Yeah.
And and when the sport is big like that, now it's when the sport is big, is you're more willing to spend the money because you're thinking of a return on investment. Because since it's such a big sport and everybody's going to watch it, you know that the reward is good for being competitive. So you spend the money to make a competitive car. You're willing to spend it because your return on investment is more likely and you're more likely to get sponsors to pay for it. IMSA and ACO and the FIA know this about sports car racing. So they say, well, in order for it to get bigger and draw more fans, we're going to have more participation, and we're going to have to figure out a way to make it competitive. So this is what they came up with: a balance of performance. And
Uh,
where and I get what you're saying because you're going to make the argument that In Formula One, they just cost cap it and tell you do whatever you want. But that's not necessarily true because Formula One is very strict. All the cars look exactly the same. IndyCar the same way. All
Yeah.
the cars look the same. NASCAR the same way. All the cars look the same. In sports car racing, all the cars look different in every class.
Yeah.
Okay, except for LMP2, which is spec.
Yeah.
But um, here's the thing, though, because in in the hypercar class and or in sports car racing, you you have you have a variety of different engines and looks and whatnot and different aero, and you can create a lemon with a cost cap, okay, and that could be a real problem. And look at Peugeot; they thought they were doing the right thing, and that's
Yeah.
not a small manufacturer, okay. They have great history at Le Mans. The 905 was a beast. The 908 all the way from 2007 to 2011 was a beast.
Yeah.
Real talk. That car, the 908 hybrid HDI FAP, I think during the race holds a record for a non-hybrid LMP1 car. 317 around Le Sarf in 2010.
Yeah.
Okay, so
I don't know,
yeah,
man.
so
It's just all. I do hear what you're saying, but I think maybe I don't know. Maybe they're doing this just to bring people in, bring more participants in, and maybe they'll be more lenient on them as they start to grow. We'll
that's
see.
what I'm thinking. Well, that's what I'm hoping at this point, because they have the participation now. Do they really need to be that strict? In the past, yes, the manufacturers have pulled out because they weren't competitive, and so they learned their lesson.
Yeah.
Manufacturers have pulled out because they were getting dominated, and they learned their lesson. But idealistically, you want flexibility with competitiveness. Can you create that? That's the question.
Yeah. All right.
Because I mean, if you can, then I mean that's a dream come true right there. If you can create, almost unlimited flexibility while they're competitive, while they have a cost cap, say maybe if it's $30 million, if that's the cost cap, then they can allocate it however they see fit, and then see what comes out of that. If it can still be competitive, I would like to see what that's going to look like, you know.
We
But
gonna see, man. We gonna see.
but I think it's starting to get to the point now where they're just staging the races though, and we're constantly looking at BOP tables every single video, like to see like okay why this car won, why this car didn't win, why this
Yeah.
car wasn't competitive, why this car was competitive,
Yeah.
you know. And it's different. And then the next race is like the car that was doing really bad, ends up looking totally different in the next race. Like in the next race, they looking like a totally different. They're performing completely different than they did previously in the last race. It's like they got a whole new car, and you look at the BOP table and you find out why. You know, so um,
Yeah.
so
Yeah. It's gonna
so but
it's gonna need a revision.
so it's just a marketing. It's become a marketing exercise for a marketing scheme for manufacturers to advertise their stuff, and instead of it being an engineering thing, where they, try to find different solutions to solve the same problem. They're just looking to the governing body to say, hey, we got this car, make it competitive. And I just think that's not real racing. You know, we need to get back to more pure racing in sports car racing.
All right. All right then.
So I agree with you. Just Mercedes Benz wrote an article about this that I sent you.
Yeah.
They don't want to bring the AMG one to the hypercar class because they said the exact same identical thing we're saying here. Just cost cap the class and let them allocate their amount of finances. And and see how that see how it comes out, because it's disrespectful to the manufacturers, the teams, to shut them down. Like, what would Mazda? How would Mazda perform if they were to bring back a rotary engine? What
Yeah.
if they had a whole bunch of advantages to it, and then here comes a governing body? No, you can't use this. You can't use that. You can't use this. You can't use that. And then what's the point of bringing it back? Then
Yeah. If you're gonna handicap everything.
all your engineering just went out the window.
Yeah.
You spent a whole bunch of money for nothing. So
Yep. All right. Close it out then. I'm right there with
yeah, I'm done rambling. I'm done rambling.
you.
Thank you guys for sticking with us. We'll see you in the next video. Subscribe if you like. Put your comments in the comment section so we can put out more videos, and so that in the future we can put out high quality content, and put your comments there and see what you think about this BOP process and what you think about these races results. I'll see you guys next time. Auto Ring Magazine. This is Ken,
It's Chris.
and we're out.